Hey church family, I'm outside in the front of my house for a reason. I'll tell you that in just a second. But yesterday we celebrated Palm Sunday, which was Jesus coming into Jerusalem on a donkey, and had so many elements to it that just demonstrate that Jesus is King. And you can go back and look and watch our message from yesterday with what Dr. Kowalski shared with us in our church, which was phenomenal. But what we know about Palm Sunday is that at the end of that Sunday, the disciples and Jesus went back to Bethany, which was not far from Jerusalem, and stayed with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. The next morning he got up, and this is what it says, and I'm going to share with you why I'm in the front of my house. It says this: the next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went out to find if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard him say it. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And he taught them. He said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have made it a den of robbers." The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. When it was evening, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. It's 6-7 verses, and that captured the entire Monday of Passion Week for Jesus. Jesus left Bethany. On his way in, he encountered a fig tree. This is a fig tree right here. It's starting to bud, but it has no leaves, and it has no fruit right now. It's actually a very complicated way for fruit to happen. It has to do with bees and all that. I don't know. You could ask my wife, but I know that it's a complicated way for fruit to get on a fig tree. Well, Jesus comes up to a fig tree, but it has leaves, and they have nice green leaves, and it's really a beautiful a tree. And so on the outside, it looks really healthy, like it's doing its job, yet it's not bearing any fruit. And hold on to that idea as we walk into understanding the temple, because what's important to know is that Jesus doesn't just go around using his powers to just wither plants. That's not his game. That's not why he came to the world, just be like, "Hey, you plant." It's not the point. The point is that it was a foreshadow of what they're about to experience. See, Jesus carried the authority of God. He was fully God and fully human. And as he was walking into the temple, which was created for all nations, the people of Israel, to commune with God, to bring offerings and get right with God, to worship God, to give God what he deserved as much as they could. And it looks beautiful on this outside. Huge pillars, beautiful, right? Huge, just a monstrosity. And it looks like it's doing its job. People are selling sacrificial animals to be used, which was not abnormal. People would travel from all around and not be able to bring animals, so they would buy the animals for their sacrifice and for their offerings. But the problem was they were using it for profit. They were selling some of the people who were selling the pigeons were selling it 20 times the amount of what it was worth. They were using the temple as gain. And so the temple looks like it's this beautiful, healthy entity that was doing its job. Yes, yet it was corrupt and not bearing any fruit. And Jesus, carrying the authority, the Son of Man, the Son of God, comes in there, knows the desire of God's heart for the temple, and how it was not being used. He begins to drive out in frustration. He begins to drive out these money changers. It was corrupt. And he was calling them out. Why? Because ultimately, in a handful of days, Jesus would be the very one that would draw all nations unto himself. He would be the thing, the very thing that humanity needs. The temple wasn't doing it. Kings prior to that wasn't doing it. Judges weren't doing that. The people of Israel weren't doing that, although that was their purpose. And ultimately, all of humanity was fallen and fallen short from God. No one could do it but Jesus. And so you see this picture, this foreshadow of this fig tree, which looked beautiful, looked like it was bearing fruit, doing its job, yet it wasn't doing its job. It looked like it, but it wasn't. The temple, this beautiful, huge facility that was trying to facilitate ministry unto the Lord, looks like it was doing its job, yet it was not bearing any fruit. And so Jesus was ultimately the one on this road of Passion Week to bear the fruit we all needed, which was to give us eternal life through the sacrifice, the crucifixion, and the resurrection of Jesus. And so this week, I just want you to meditate on the authority of Jesus today, that he is making wrong things right. Love you guys.